my name is Torres. I am a Spanish teacher at Ben Carson High School in Detroit, Michigan. Here's my big goal. We will all become beginning Hispanohablantes by achieving at least 85% mastery of all Spanish objectives. It initially said 80. My students decided they wanted 85 instead of 80. And 2, speaking Spanish at least 80% of the time. Over here we have our classroom rules. And under that we have our class point system. Classes earn points by being seated when the bell rings, by working on their do now quietly, by completing all their homework. And they're currently working towards a class fiesta of either margaritas without alcohol, having nachos, or having a movie, or having their parents or guardians come in their place instead of having the students in the classroom. They're currently working towards 75 points, and you can see this class is pretty close. Other classes are trailing behind a little bit. Over here, the board, homework, objective, the do now agenda. In the Spanish classroom, it's really important to have the interrogative words, quién, qué, cuándo, helps us stay in the target language. Over here we have our class investment. Why are we learning Espanol? I teach at a school for science and medicine, so a lot of these are geared towards science and medicine to meet my students' interests. For example, physicians and health professionals have a responsibility to treat all patients, even if they do not speak English, things like that. Over here we have our shout-out board. Students can take one of these at any time and fill one out for a particular student. If a student helped them with their homework or helped them study for an exam, helped them master a particular objective, they get to shout that student out for helping them. Initially, I was the only one writing them for students. Over time, students are taking initiative to write them for one another. Over here, some posters and my word wall that's been up from the very beginning of the year. A lot of the basic Spanish vocabulary that comes back very frequently is up on this board. We have all of our objectives that we're mastering throughout the year based on the National Spanish exam over here. And over here is data about my 3rd unit assessment. We have students that mastered 80 to 90% of the assessment here, 90 to 95 here, and 95 and above at the very top. On this side, we have our Unit 2 objectives. Here are all the objectives that were covered in the assessment on the left. Next to that will be our goal, 85% on every objective. And then I have each class period, M1, M2, M3, S1, and S3. Those are my labels for the different classes I teach. We have a block schedule, so we have M days and S days. I have the class averages for every objective written down here. If they get 85% or higher, they get a green piece of paper. If they did not achieve 85% mastery, they have a white piece of paper. So they can see very visually what objectives they're mastering and which ones they're not doing so well on. The objectives where almost every class mastered, I've been able to have a discussion with my students about why they mastered them. And they were able to see that objective 2.1 and 2.7 were the only objectives where we learned music. We actually had songs that went with them, and they did very well. We had 99, 99, pretty high mastery for the first objective. And my students told me it was all about the music.
How has this also affected investment in your class?
So they're always competing to try to get a higher mastery score. My first assessment, M2, was almost all green down the way, and they did really, really well, and my other classes were really frustrated. They wanted to catch up. This time, the assessment was a little more rigorous, a lot more difficult, and you can tell that they kind of leveled the playing field. Students that were not doing too well, in M3, for example, this was my lowest class by far. And you can see they actually did pretty well compared to the other classes.
And then what about having their names up?
Oh, having their names. Yeah, so we actually had a lot of parents come in. We had our open house at the beginning of the year, and the first thing the students did, if their name was on the wall, was they brought their parents to see that their name was on the wall. They were really excited about it. They're just very proud to have some recognition.
All right.
Yeah.